So I'm just filming this bit in my kitchen. This is where we're up to thus far, and if we can compare to the image. So it's like that way. Not bad. I'm quite happy so far. I think, what have we learned? We've learned that if you're going to do such a detailed stencil in such a small area, make them a deeper colour, because they show up way better on here than they do in real life. I've been my biggest enemy, my own biggest enemy with this, with the stencil, because it's so hard to see. That shows up really quite well on camera. In real life, it's awful. This was the palest of pale blues, and I don't know if you can see the little bits of orange. I'm literally just heating up my teeny tiny iron because I've had to go over with the heat erasable pens back over the stencils, comparing them to the digital stencil because I can't see what I'm doing. That's been the biggest challenge. So I'm hoping it looks all right. I'm hoping I've got the colours, where are we? There. Something like with the deeper colours. I mean, it's never going to be exact, you know, it's cotton. At the end of the day, they only do so many colours. So I'm hoping I've got it as near as I can, and a good representation. The other issue I've had is, this is the one with the stencil, so excuse the scribble over the top. My very, very fine, very, very pale stencil. So a lot of these flowers, the front ones here on the bluebells, are out of focus. You can't stitch out of focus, so I've kind of had to put more detail on here than I have on here. Excuse, I missed a nail as well, that's really annoying. But more detail on this than is what perhaps is on the picture. But I still think we've got an accurate representation. We've got the little bits of reds peeking through, we've got the different shades, we've got the deeper blues, and we've got the paler blues, and then we've got the more silvery sort of colours with the little bits of almost lime green stamen with the darker patches. So I'm hoping that's all right. I'm moving on to this one next. I think I'm going to continue with the red. I was going to do this bit next, but I think I'm going to have a go at this. I brought the reds down, hoping this is going to be right. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see these orangey patches here. Yeah, they need to go. So I'm just going to go over it with my iron, which will help sort of not flatten the thread. It doesn't need flattening, but there's any little bits of orange that are still seeping through, or any other pen, because I'm using lots of different coloured pens. I'll do this with two hands in a second because I can see little bits in there. Oh, there we go. I need to get down there. It's such a good tool, this. But yeah, it's there's been a lot of pen drawing. Got to be careful. I burnt myself on this the other day. I put my finger on that and that is actually scorching hot, so be very careful. I'll keep this brief then. So yeah, so that's about 10-12 hours of stitching thus far. I tackled that first because I felt like that was the most challenging, and if I stuffed it up I could start again without crying that I've ruined all the rest. I think the rest will be much more straightforward. This one's going to be a bit of a challenge because of how tiny it is. I mean, if you compare these petal sizes to my smallest fingernail, they're dinky. And in the actual image, if I zoom right in, we're going to have a lighter outer and the darker inner. So I'm going to go around and do all the lights, then all the darks. Then we've got the really deep center part. Now that's going to be teeny tiny French knots, I think, but I'm going to do the yellow before I do the teeny tiny French knots over the top. So yeah, and then obviously we've got more French knots and green with these yellow patches. That's the same colour red, I believe, as the lighter shade I'm going to do on there. I've got about 3 or 4 reds to use. So I'm going to do that, the lighter colour, and then the French knots, and well, the stems and the French knots over the top. And then we're going to move on, probably get this rose done. And then we're probably a good 50% of the way. Because I was finishing a previous project, I didn't get this started perhaps as quickly as I would have liked. And obviously I have other work to do in between as well. So this is due for dispatch on Thursday. We're on Saturday at the moment, so Sunday's going to be a big sewing day. And then of course I'm hoping to get this area and possibly this done tomorrow. And then I've just got the two chunky ones to do, and that's just a lot of satin stitching because we want some really smooth looking petals on there with the smallest little shades of detail, and then we've just got these little bitty bits and the stalks. Obviously I've removed the hand because I didn't want just a floating finger. I thought that might be a bit weird, but I have kept the ribbon in because I feel like that's, yeah, I've just kept the ribbon in. So obviously I've had to, where the fingers come over the stalks, obviously I've drawn over the top, so we're gonna have some stalks where you can't see them, but yeah, pleased so far, hoping the lady that receives it will be pleased, and we'll see how we go. I just want to add as well as I'm doing this, even if I were to miss a bit of the heat erasable pen, this is getting soaked off anyway. It's just so I can see what I'm doing, so I should just point that out really. Obviously I wouldn't be using bright orange pens if this was the actual fabric. You can see the fabric is the underneathy part. So this water soluble fabric will get soaked off. Hopefully none of the colours will run. And then, yeah, you won't see any of the pen anyway because it's all been soaked away. But it's more for my own, as I'm looking at it, I want to be able to see what I can see properly without any sort of distorted pen, so I know what I'm doing. But yeah, just wanted to add that in.